Hello, folks. Well, I'm going to talk here a little bit about the 401k emails that I've been sending. The last one I did send, many people they responded and said that they wanted some more information, and then I plan to talk to them personally, and everything is difficult, the COVID, and then my next idea was just to create a series of little videos that would explain more or less what I meant in the messages. But problem is that it took me that long because I was planning to do something a little bit more decent with a nice whiteboard, and I would transfer something into my screen and write and stuff like that and make the little drawings. And eventually I found out that the reason why it was taking so long was because I was trying to do something better. Well, what I decided to do starting last week, I started to think, well, we'd better do something add than doing nothing. And I decided to come up with those short videos. Hopefully it will take me less than 20 minutes, hopefully only 15 minutes every time. And to give you guys a little bit of understanding of the 401k business. We all have them, but we know very little about them. And I'm talking, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of, it has a big part of your life, is somehow related to your 401k. And many times, we live that I would call an illusion that the thing works by itself, which it doesn't. And the way that I think that is the best way, the most, at least the most, the less painful way for us to understand what I want to communicate is, to make a brief, to review briefly the history of hedge funds and mutual funds, and how things progress, where it is at right now, and how they are compared, how they are rated and stuff like that. Maybe it's the best way. At least this is if we follow the time sequence is I believe to be the best. Okay, so that mutual funds and hedge funds, they have been around. Okay, hedge funds. Okay, think of hedge funds as something very similar to mutual funds, but it's much wider. If you are in a hedge fund, you can do a lot of things that you wouldn't be allowed to do in a mutual fund. And most times, since you have this better, much more options, supposedly you would have better returns, which is not always the case. And so hedge funds are most times, people who put money in hedge funds are big companies, insurance companies, universities, or even a company like Northrop Grumman or any type of company. But they're pretty much the same, and they follow the same history trend. They started about in the 50s. And that in 2010, Warren Buffett, he created a major change in what people thought about mutual funds and hedge funds. And so I would say that now we live in the post Warren Buffett era with the hedge funds and mutual funds. Because before that, since the beginning, you have always had finance people that they would say, and they would indicate that the whole thing was a hoax, that you pay a lot of commissions and you pay a lot of money to those fund managers, that they are very wise people and they would do a lot of good things with your money and you get a nice return. But they would say, well, actually, all they do is just to get your money, and the returns that they give you is less than the market itself. It's less than the index itself. But if you get a little bit time for you to delve into the way that the thing is done, you see that there are many ways for this to get disguised. You know, the mutual fund people and the hedge funds people, they are very, very, very smart in creating a history, a past history that impresses you. And they do it in a way that is very difficult for you to just, you know, to say, hey, this is a lie. They do in a very tricky way so that it seems that they really have a good performance. And this is what has been happening until, and as I said, all the finances, all they had all the times of suspicions about this industry. In 2010, what Warren Buffett said, he said, look, I offer $1 million in a bet that the best mutual and hedge funds in this country doesn't perform the same as the index. And you know that he has a good reputation. He's a very, you know, he's a successful person, and he's a very ethical person. And basically they came up with all the rules, how the thing was going to be. They just chose, you know, I'm talking about reputable hedge funds like, you know, Fidelity and Vanguard and top people. I mean, I'm not talking about anything that are not known. And they made all the rules, and basically they started on a given date, and they went for 10 years because basically, I don't know the details, but I know that there was $1 million bet involved that Warren Buffett was going to give them if they performed better than the S&P 500. And after those 10 years, the S&P 500 had performed something like 85% or something like this. And the best of all those hedge funds that participating in the bet, they only got 65 or 68%. Okay, it was a shame. I mean, it was because at that time there was no opinion. You know, it was something that has been documented for 10 years. And basically they couldn't even, you know, they got a little bit more than half of what the index did. And of course, what happened at that time is that everybody, right, so big companies, a big chunk of money, I'm talking about billions and billions of dollars, people just took them out of the hedge funds. And we, as 401kers, we don't have access to hedge funds, but everything that we talk in hedge funds, they also apply. They also apply to mutual funds. And basically, what you know, that at that time, I think this country got up to something 9,000 hedge funds. After this bet, it went down to 2,000, you know, who could barely survive because all the money was gone. And in a sense, this was good for us, you know, for many of us 401kers. We have this this kind of optimistic idea that the thing works by itself. So we should not put too much effort in understanding what it is and how the thing is going to go. And in a sense, you know, it was good because now, at least based on Warren Buffett's advice, all we have to do is to do the easiest, which is just to put the money in a fund, in a passive fund, which is an S&P 500 fund, that the commissions are very minor because there's no manager. You're not hiring a genius to do this or that with your money. It just, you know, leave it in the fund. So you pay, I don't know how much, 0.1%, 0.05%. I don't know. It's very low if you compare with the managed mutual funds. And so this thing got much simpler. However, there are 2 points. Many of us who know about the story that I just told, you may have this idea, okay, I should not worry. I just put my money in the S&P 500, and this is the best I can do. That's kind of true. But you should still know a lot of things because, okay, this is the best. Historically, the S&P 500 has been giving an average of 8% a year, since it started. S&P started in 1950. And up to now, it gives an average of 8% a year, which by Warren Buffett's experience is the best you can get if you're not a professional. If you're not, day in, day out, trying to do something different, that's the best that you get. But the question is, there are two things. You have to check with yourself if it is good enough for you, number one. And number two, you have to, if you know what risk is all about, and if you know how to determine your risk, and you know how to be, let's say, mathematical in how to handle risk, you can get some benefits which goes beyond those 8% a year. And I'm going to talk about that. And among other things, what I'm going to talk is that that's true. About it's going to be about 5 years, I guess, 5 years that the bomb exploded. Hedge funds is good for nothing. Mutual fund is good for nothing. And all this money went out. So since then, the finance people, they have been working on other types of investment, which supposedly are better than the mutual funds and the hedge funds, trying to attract this money that went out. And some of their ideas are not bad. We have to analyze. But before anything, what is really necessary is that us, as for 401kers, get a little bit of understanding of what the whole thing is about. And this is the question. I ask this question for all of you. Each one of you, think. Over the last 10 years, how many hours have you spent to educate yourself about 401k? 10 hours, 20 hours, I don't know. And now you take out, because see, one thing that I learned, and you will learn soon if you try, is that advisors, financial advisors, and any types of brokers, they don't work for you. Okay, they are just, sometimes they work for you, but just like if you had an experience with a realtor, it is the same. The realtor, he works for you, but if he finds out that the best option for you is an option that he doesn't get his commission, it doesn't work for you. That's basically, the same situation if you listen to the story of a broker or an advisor. It doesn't work. You end up getting, and besides, my experience is that on top of that, many advisors, many brokers, they know very little. They know less than you, and they claim to be an advisor. Like, an experience that I had recently is that my wife, she wanted us to go to see a financial advisor because she doesn't believe what I do, and she's all the time, she's afraid that I'm doing something crazy. And then, I went to this guy, he was talking about 401k, how they did this and that. And then I told him, look, I have been making this type of investment on my 401k. He said, no, you're not. It doesn't exist. Nobody can do what you're saying. What you're saying that you're doing something that is not allowed in the 401k. I say, listen, I've been doing this for 3 years. In other words, the guy, if he works it, this is his profession. At least he should have, the basics understanding of the thing, and he doesn't have it. And he doesn't know how to compare 401k with others. Like, should I put more money in the IRA or should I put more money on the 401k? And if I go to IRA, what are the additional options? Can I go to, I have an IRA and I go to futures, and he did not know that this is possible. So on top of not always being a person, trustworthy person, sometimes they are not, they don't know enough to help you. So you have to learn a little bit yourself. Okay, so the point is this, how much time have you used of your life, how many hours in your life you have used to understand what you are involved with. And let's just give you one thing, because I want to finish this video now, but just give you one thing to get you kind of curious or get you intrigued. Okay. Warren Buffett said that 401k, putting your money in 401k is the best ever. And I have to agree with him. But let me tell something about this investment. Imagine for a second, imagine that you worked for, I don't know, what's the name? McDonnell Douglas, or whatever company. You work for McDonnell Douglas, and suppose that you left that company on the 24th of March of the year 2000. And let's assume that at that point you had $100,000 in your 401k account in McDonnell Douglas, with and the whole thing 100% was invested in the S&P 500 index. So you know, I think I have here. In our case, in our package, when I say an S&P 500 index, I'm talking about our U.S. equity. Okay, U.S. equity, our U.S. equity fund basically has very low commissions, and basically what they do, instead of trying to be smart, try to be smart, they just put the whole money in the fund. And supposedly by Warren Buffett's advice is the best that you can get. So imagine that on the 24th of March of 2000, you left $100,000 in your 401k in McDonnell Douglas, and you just left it there, and you came to Northrop Grumman, and you just kind of forgot that money there, okay? But you say, well, it's there, it's in the index. The index has the best investment ever, so something good may be happening. And then time goes by, and let's assume that in 2013, in March 4th, 2013, I'm talking about what? I'm talking about 13 years, a period of 13 years. So you make your calculation, say, well, let me go see that money there. I'm going to transfer to my Northrop Grumman 401k. Well, I had 100,000 13 years back. That's really good. So, let's see up to what it is right now. So you get in online, and you're able to get into your old account and see, what is my balance today? Surprise, surprise. After 13 years, your balance is the same, $100,000. So, I mean, okay. Warren Buffett says that it's the best investment, and I will not argue with him. But have you ever considered that the best investment can leave you frozen with zero returns in 10 years? And even worse, if you dig in the middle of those 10 years, okay, like for 2000, if you go down to 2005, 2008, maybe, you will find out that for a period, your $100,000 went down to $46,000. And since it starts falling until it recovered, it took 13 years. In other words, okay, it's the best investment, but I'm asking you, do you know what risk you're running? Suppose that you are a 55-year-old person and you're planning to retire when you're 65. You're 55 and you're planning to retire in 10 years. Have you ever considered the risk if the worst happens, how painful it can be? See, in other words, it's the best investment. Yes, it is. but you should be aware what it is. And let me give an example. You guys may remember, there was this fellow that came to work with us as a temporary for a period. His name was Edmund Peterson. He just sat close to my office. And it happened to him. I mean, he has all his plans to retire in 2009. And he had bought some houses. He had some houses in Phoenix, especially in Phoenix. He bought some houses as investment, and he had this amount on 401k. And when the time came to retire, his houses were upside down. Zero, didn't have any value, and his 401k was about 40% or 45% of what it had already been. And actually he had to work more. All his plans were changed. He has to work about so many years, I don't know. And even so, when he decided to retire, he had to retire on a level much lower than what he was expecting. I'm talking, according to Warren Buffett, I'm talking about the best investment available for us 401kers. We must learn, we must know. And then, of course, if you know, and if you have a kind of reasonable idea of what you are getting involved with, you make a plan, of the risk. Our lives are full of risk. A matter, you have to know how to manage it, and how to do something that works for you. It doesn't have to work for anybody else. Don't try to copy anybody else, because you are only you. And once you come up with a plan that is good for you, that's what you have to do, and you have a calculated risk behind the whole thing. Okay, so this is my first video. So you guys know more or less what I will be talking about, and what, according to my experience, what is the best and fastest way for you to learn some if you have this interest. And then I'm going to get into the details, like our 401k at Northrop Grumman. What can we do? Give some examples of, some approaches that you could use, and also take into account your age. Based on your age, you should take into account different things and things like that. So for today, that's it. And I don't know when I'll be able to do the next one. Okay, if you followed me so far, I thank you. And by the way, just one more comment, like I wrote. Listen, all that I'm putting online, all that I'm putting on this video, I have absolutely no financial interest, no monetary interest at all. I don't want you to pay for my help. I don't want you guys I'm not offering myself to be a broker, to get a commission. No, nothing of that. The only thing that I want, my intention in sharing those things, is because I have heard so often people involved with finance. I said the only problem if you are a non-professional person working with finance or messing with finance, the problem is a lonely activity. And it really is. Because, very soon you get into a situation very specific. When you just start, you'll find a lot of people that you can share your ideas. But after a little bit, you specialize on a certain thing, and not many people will be able to follow you. They don't want to follow you because they are involved with something different. So you end up having to study with no sharing. So that's, if I profit anything for what I'm doing, is in this sense, in the sense of having people that I can share with, and it's more fun, of course, more fun than when you do something all by yourself. Okay, so let's see what it comes for the next video. Bye-bye.